I was struck by the following thing. We know that terrible people can rise to the top. We know that in many organizations, not just politics, but in companies and stuff, every of us, all of us have had bosses who were like just total nasty jerks. So we know that can happen and we know that can be successful. So that's one extreme. It's true. Now there's another extreme of the nice guy or the nice woman who's really polite, but they're a bit of a nebbish. They agree with whatever they're asked to do,
Yeah.
and we know that merely being nice won't work. That famous phrase "nice guys finish last," which by the way becomes a chapter in the book, is there's a lot to that. If you're only nice, if you accept what everybody asks you, you'll be pulled in all different directions. That's no good.
Your
So we have
Chicago roots are showing with that one because that's a Leo DeRocher. He was the manager of the Chicago Cubs.
exactly. You're entirely right. So the one extreme of being a total jerk works, but we don't always want to be like that. And
Yeah.
the other extreme of being really nice and soft, that doesn't work. It's down there. So the question of the book is a simple question: is there a path in between?
Mhm.
Is there a way that you could be successful, not maybe as a quiet scholar off in the corner, that's sort of easy, but in a tough competitive field, like, I don't know, flying an airplane or running a military division or in a big corporation or a huge construction site, something that's hard, competitive, and difficult. Can you thread that needle? Can you find an intermediate path? And it turns out it's really hard, but you can. And I found about a dozen people, men and women in different periods of time, who did. And I tried to think, how did they do it? What are some of the advantages? Because we know there's many advantages to being a jerk. If you yell and intimidate people, you can often get your way. People get scared.
Right.
You can often also make quick decisions with no compunction. If you have to fire people, you can fire them quickly. So in extreme economic circumstances, there can be certain advantages to that. On the other hand, if you are a jerk, everybody hates your guts. The moment you begin to go down, the knives are really out. Nobody's on your side. Also, people are terrified of you. So usually it's the bossiest person on top who's the most clueless, who's the last one to know what's really going on. Well, again, leaving aside the soft, nice guy, but the intermediate person, you know that phrase firm but fair. I suppose
Yeah.
that's what the book's about. That person, they get fresh information comes to them. People aren't terrified. They're firm enough to be able to make a decision afterwards. So they'll be generous. So instead of getting resentment back, they'll get gratitude. But of course, they're not naive. So running through the book, I point out that these 7 or 8 or 10 successful people I talk about, they all have street smarts. They say you can be really generous, but you got to audit what's coming back. Just make sure there's not a handful of free riders who are taking advantage of you.
Mhm.
And I was delighted to find that it works, be it in small areas like an airplane cockpit,
Mhm.
going all the way to huge international relations.